Okay, let me start today. Today the topic is about NetOps. NetOps is nothing but let me share my screen first. I'll just share my screen. Okay, this is the screen. I'll share it up. Then I'm going to talk about today about the NetOps, that is Python for the network engineers. Quite considerably, we've been talking about the network operations which are getting automated in the bigger companies and all now. So every other company nowadays going for kind of kind of automations. They try to make it out because they would like to have the complete administrations has to come under the automation for that. Automation main benefit is like that many equipments can be controlled by just one script or something, which can be written by the network engineers or the DevOps engineers peoples. So now the shift has been focusing towards the software driven networking. Means like previously we've been using the boxes and OSs and upgradations and hardware boxes and all like that. We were using that. Now everything has been moved towards the cloud. So in cloud, we've been started using all the software defined networking mostly. And some of the boxes also been utilized by the on-prem devices as well. So we have the connectivity between this on-prem as well as the cloud on this. So when it is going like a hybrid cloud environment, we've been looking for certain application which can control everything in one shot. So there we are going to enjoy the benefits of the network operations. Network operations are already been there when we've been doing it last 5 6 years and all like that. We will be having a team of L1 L2 L3 people and L4 people will be doing the designings and other things. So L1 people will be doing normal kind of like the maintenance or upgradation work or something. L2 people will be doing a little bit of troubleshootings. L3 will be doing some troubleshooting on a complex networks. Like these are all is been categorized into the L1 L2 L3, but we can write the things as an automation script that the entire the script can maintain all these things in one shot. And the upgradation was very painful when it is goes for a numbers of routers, like when it is increasing to 500 600 routers need to get upgraded with the new OS or something like that. We just need to deploy as a project. Then we will be running that as a shift based. We will be running with many peoples on that. So those all can be completely easily automated by just doing the NetOps with that NetOps. And many other benefits also there. Been like we can eliminate the engineers requirement on modifying as well as monitoring things and all. So this can be done very faster, and the network operations has been like customized, and we will be able to write our own scripts for our own network. It can be customized according to our own requirements as well as per our networks. The network in the sense now previously it was like a Cisco was like monopolizing the entire network. So there won't be any questions of arising like operations has to do, NetOps has to be done or something like that. But people are going for like network Cisco certifications and all, so they can run certain commands itself enough for them that they can run the network. Now it is become like more open. Many other boxes has come, many other box vendors has come, and as well as the open solutions has been come up, like open data flow, open link, open flow, and HP has got its own software defined networking. Like many other software defined networking has come up, like open vSwitch, and all we are having that. So that doesn't operate under any corporate environment or something like, we will not be looking for any kind of corporate level of controlling the control planes and all. It is not been there. The control plane has been gone directly to the software. So we are in a position to have the scripts in hand so that we can manage the entire boxes. Either it has been manufactured by different vendors as well, so it is easy for us to maintain those things by using the NetOps environment. So the NetOps environment need to be properly designed, and it should be properly implemented. Implementation in the sense that people need to understand the requirements of it, and as well as the engineers need to be trained for the Python or Ansible or Kubernetes or many other tools which are available. Through that, they need to get properly get trained for to get it like working on these NetOps things, because this is not just like we are just running a commands and getting the outputs on this, but this is like you're writing an entire script which can control the entire boxes for us. And it can be done remotely, and it can be run in the even if the people are in off shift or something, we can run that scripts when in off shift also. It can execute the script, and it can pull out all the reports, and it will provide to us. So like it's some kind of an automation only, like so. Let me go to the next slide. The next slide is like network automation is catching so fast, but it still has long way to go, because that's what people need to be properly trained for that, so that they will understand what is the NetOps and other things. Next slide. Total cost of ownership. Let me make it bigger. So this is like a small survey has been taken about what is the current situation is there, how the people are going to adapt to the NetOps or something. So the first point is like total cost of ownership, TCO, and security rule, the roost among the top network challenges. 48% of the people saying that cost and security are the two equally challenging factors in managing the networks. And next one is 31% is saying that agility and availability as top network troubles. And the 12% are saying that lack of visibility is a significant issue when managing the networks. 9% are saying that blame the culture as impediment to the modern networks. Like, so people are still believing that the CLI will do the wonder, but only the CLI will not do that. Now this is the next slide. 50% of the people choosing the CLI on individual devices to make the network changes, and 33% people respective towards a vendor's network management solution to make the network changes. Means vendor solutions are given for us, like we can create a ticket and we can work with them, they'll be working for us, like, so we'll be taking the help of these people. And 16% of the people, they use a network automation tool to make the network changes and other things. So this is like now it has been growing. See that it was only 50%, now the extra 50% has been taken over by something else. So it is slowly the NetOps has been coming into the picture. So we will be in a day that we will be start doing the NetOps on this. Software configuration tools are the most popular network automation solution. 33% using the configuration management tools like Ansible, Chef, Puppet, and network automations. So these are all wide variety of like, because these are all like open source tools. So we can start working with these tools to manage our entire network. And 33% of the people are accessing, like accepting this. And 28 people saying that CLI scripting for network automation, they can do that. And 20% of the people saying that respondents use the in-house network automation tools, means they will be customizing their own tools like that. And 17% of the people are saying the dedicated third-party network automation tools. So dedicated automated in the sense like we can talk to them again, it is coming like a vendor support only. Even if you run into any issues or something, you can talk to that vendor. So the dependability has been there. So the next one is like lack of collaboration and application invisibility are the top challenges in network troubleshooting. 40% of the people are saying that lack of collaboration and access teams as a roadblock of troubleshooting. Means we just need knowing. If you would like to have help on the another team, in the sense we need to raise a case with them. Then we'll have to talk to them. Then we'll have to include their managers for that. So this itself is taking a long time, but the problem still remains at bay. So 17% of the people are saying that lack of application visibility prevents them from conducting informed troubleshooting. This is a very known factor for every other troubleshooting guy. And 16% of the people are saying that inaccurate manual network maps for problematic troubleshooting. We never have any map at all, because when the customer has been included now newly to the network, he himself doesn't have any idea about what is his network, and he's asked us to troubleshoot his life. So this problem, 7% are saying CLI troubleshooting times as a major source of delay. CLI means you just need to have that CLI with you. Every box has got its own CLI. Juniper has got a CLI. Cisco has got a CLI. Arista has got a CLI. And HP, Dell, and other things, everything has got its own CLI. So you just need to learn all these things. So this is like when it comes to the multi-vendor environment, managing the each and every box, it requires a proper patience as well as the CLI, knowing about the CLI to work on that. That will be an issue. So we will definitely go for an automation on this. Fifth, most enterprises are in the initial stages of their network automation journey. 50% say they are in stage one, means people are ready to accept this. NetOps is going to be ruling the world. Like that, they slowly they started doing something on the NetOps. And 33 people are saying that they are in the stage 2. 16 people are saying that in stage 3. Means it is gradually increasing. So the NetOps is going to be the master for all the network management as well. So the time taken for network service changes to ADCs. ADCs means application delivery controllers, and firewalls and DNS devices and all. Network automation approach. Network automation tools, when you do the changes on execution, it will be taking only minutes. With the vendors network management solution, it is taking days. CLI on individual devices, it takes weeks. So you see the difference. CLI will take weeks. Vendors management tools and solutions will take days. Network automation tools will be doing it in minutes. So people are definitely looking for network automation nowadays. So we are in a position to learn all the NetOps things to start our journey towards the NetOps in that. So best practices for network automation, industry recommended. Analyze your network first. Identify the key pain points, areas you want to get automated. Everything cannot be automated. So we just need to include the devices which can be coming under the umbrella of the automation things. We need to find out that. We need to figure out that and have a defined automation tool strategy. Which tool we are going to use it, whether it will be applicable for all the boxes which we are having it, and as well as like future boxes which we are going to buy it and install it, or like an open source devices when we try to integrate it with that open vSwitch or something. So we just need to have the defined automation tool strategy for that. Next, consult with all teams before making decision. This is very important because management team is there, project management team is there, managers are there, network operations teams are there, network changes peoples are there, and network what is that problem team is there. Like we will have ITL process like change, incident change, and like problem management and other people. So we need to have a proper consultation with them, and everyone should be in a same page. Means they should be in a sync, so that what we are going to do, what kind of a solution we are going to make it for our own company, and train your workforce adequately for the transition. Definitely, without knowing the Python or without knowing the Ansible or any other automation tools, people cannot be given a script in their hand to run on this. So if they are stuck, if they could not able to troubleshoot what is happening on this, some of the devices which are not responding properly, in the sense they should be in a position to understand the script, and they need to modify certain things to run in the practical scenario. That for that they require certain trainings for that. Then conduct regular audits to enforce the security and policy compliance. This comes in every other process when we try to initialize it. Then explore, experiment, and expand. This we need to do that. Exploring, experimenting, expanding. This is applicable for any project which we are doing in our network. So the next one is, what is NetOps? We need to understand what is NetOps. NetOps can be perceived in two ways. One is portmanteau of network and operation. What is the meaning of portmanteau? Is a word linguistic blend of words in which parts of multiple words on their phenomena and their phonemes are combined into a new word. Means like net and ops, network and operations has been made as a NetOps, also called as NetOps 1.0. And the next one, we have the NetOps 2.0 or Agile NetOps. 2.0 is the one latest has been come up. What is NetOps 1.0? We will see. NetOps 1.0 is a traditional approach to networks and their management. It is characterized by bulky, hardware-heavy networks and network tasks executed through the CLI scripting, and network teams working in isolation from application and security teams. So according to the Gartner survey, NetOps 1.0 is CLI focused, IT driven, automation hours. They are not looking for any kind of automations. So this is where that we were doing it last 10 years, like that we were doing with only the CLI things, and hardware heavy networks. Every hardware need to be understood properly. How to insert the cards, how to switch it off and switch on, how to, like removing the network cards and other things, and how to do the CLI and all these things. We need to learn all the CLIs. For every other per box, we just need to have the idea about that, what CLI we are using that. And the network team is completely isolated from the application and security teams as well. So they don't know what is happening with an application and security. So there won't be any proper collaboration and coordination also between the teams. So thus everything will be get solved in NetOps 2.0. 2.0 is networking approach that goes beyond the traditional networking ideals and incorporates core DevOps values like network agility, network automation, and network orchestration into its operations. Ops or operations is tied to all over overall business goals and includes parts of both the development operations and the security operations, DevOps and the SecOps. NetOps 2.0 advocates the modernization of the networks, which technologies like software-defined networking, intent-based networking, and network functions visualization, and it aims, one more person is joining, okay, and it aims to make network operations intuitive and context aware and analytics oriented by adapting practices that are driven by AI and ML, artificial intelligence and machine language. So we need to go beyond this level also, but we just need to start with the Endpoint 2.0, NetOps 2.0. AI and ML has been included to the NetOps 2.0. And let's see the next one. The shift from NetOps 1.0 to 2.0, with businesses increasingly going digital, the pace at which they operate, be it delivering applications and services, rolling out bug fixes and updates, or addressing customer concerns has improved dramatically. This can be attributed to the advances made in the DevOps technologies and at the rate at which they are being adopted by the enterprises. There are the plethora of tools in the market for every conceivable DevOps requirement. Some of these tools are like Red Hat Ansible. Red Hat Ansible has been, we can do that Ansible also nowadays. So Chef and Jenkins, we have been around for almost a decade now and are moving from strength to strength in their capabilities. Chef, like Jenkins is a deployment tool. Chef is like a master slave, like that we can just try to do some other things. Like Ansible is also like, they will be doing it on a mostly on deployment side. Like, so this is Red Hat Ansible, but it's openly been, now we can work with Ansible. So these are all coming under the NetOps 2.0. And what is the methodologies on NetOps 2.0? Virtualization, automation, orchestration. Virtualization, it's talking about traditional network are typically hardware heavy, difficult to configure, deploy, and maintain as usual. They are very slow and rigid. NetOps 2.0 signals a move from physical hardware-centric network environment on virtualized, software-defined one that offers easier management, greater flexibility, and more agility. Automation, manual network processes results in delays that affect the application team's ability to deploy and update applications continuously. NetOps 2.0 endorses the automation of repeatable and predictable tasks, like those involved in making network configuration changes, data collection from the nodes, and etc. So now we are in our company, we've been doing the data collection only, mostly like configuration things are we are still not going for a configurations using the NetOps 2.0, but we will be pulling out the reports on certain boxes, certain applications, and certain type of the, like the interface status and the some kind of a syslogs and all like that. We just try to pull it out with our automations. Next is an orchestration. Orchestration, we will be talking about more on a Kubernetes side. Orchestration is an automation on larger scale. While automation involves some level of human intervention, orchestration takes care of processes from end to end. Network orchestration can be run on processes such as adding pool members in case of traffic spikes, provisioning applications on multiple environments, configuring firewall policies, and etc. So this orchestration also can be done with the 2.0. So 2.0 methodology involves the virtualization, automation, and orchestration. Everything is cloud-based, and we can implement this solution for on-prem also. But we need to work with the teams, like how many data centers we have, and what are the devices which are connected to that, and how we are going to make a method to make the NetOps to work for all the devices as well. We just need to take the help of the boxes which has been provided by the vendors. You need to understand that what all the tools are compatible with the boxes which are installed in our device, in our networks, like that. So the next one is like, to align with the NetOps 2.0 philosophy, the tools should be function across environment, on-premise, provide, and hybrid cloud. That's what I was telling. And be vendor agnostic and should process network automation, network orchestration, and data analytics capabilities. Integrate with the existing IT systems and services such as ITSM tools. We've been using some ITSM tools also in our company. ChatOps. ChatOps is nothing but like you can even make the chatting between the people like that. That can also be automated. And be intuitive and context aware. What context we are talking about that, which we can make it out. And provide a high visibility into the network infrastructure, quick detection and preemption of network problems, and ensure high network availability. Promote extensive collaboration between network, DevOps, and SecOps teams, and make certain network components available to DevOps and SecOps through the access controls. The last one, real-time monitoring of health, performance, state of network components, and ensure overall security and policy compliance of the network infrastructure. So these are all the philosophy. The tools should be able to understand all these things which we try to do, or it should be providing us to do all these works. Core aspects: security aligned, analytics driven, automation friendly. Networks are highly insensitive, and most attacks happen due to some vulnerability in the application service infrastructure of the network, say a configuration fault in a firewall or load balancer. Network security issues are highly serious and can lead to crippling outages if not resolved in time, definitely. And it is imperative that network teams should work closely with the SecOps teams to make their network breach proof. So we've been talking with the traditional approach. We will be doing that, mailing them and keeping a meeting with those people and making some modifications accordingly. So those are all very much easy for us to do within NetOps. Analytics driven network data analysis is essential to predict and manipulate the network, optimize its operations, detect and preempt problems before they occur. Data such as network performance during the traffic surges, application instance loading times, and network quality metrics can prove invaluable in making the network related decisions. Automation friendly, widespread automation and orchestration network process. So NetOps is providing that. So manually making thousands of network changes by rapid pace of application delivery and update mandates is impractical as well as error prone. Introducing automation wherever is possible makes the network agile, secure, and error-free by increasing the pace at which network services are deployed and removing the need for human attention. That's what. So now we are going to talk about something on the Python. Python also been used with the automation things. We've been using the Python for quite a long time, and Python has been used to configure the devices and pull up the reports from that and take the configuration changes which are been done, and automation has been done with the Python itself. Python is, everyone knows that the people who are using the Python, who are maybe like they are very beautiful programmers like that, but that has been coming to our criteria, that has been coming to our scenario also, like that we just need to learn the Python. Even if you try to go to the Ansible or Chef or any other tools, if you like to have it, and better I would like to say that please go for Python and learn Python, so that Python has got so much of its own arms that has been spread across all over the industries over the world. It can be started with the rocket launching, and it can be do it with the normal router configurations of the scripts also. It has been possible. So
Rana, can I say something?
yeah.
Swapnil here. Yeah, but recently I saw a video in which it was saying that Ansible is much better than Python.
Yeah, definitely. See, because
So
Python is been need to be customized a lot, and Ansible has got its own tools like that which can be done very easily. The people are using that Ansible because that it can be written with a YAML script, YAML, which we normally say that. YAML script can be written. YAML is nothing but like a perfect English only. So it is very easy for the people to adapt with the Ansible than Python. But I would like to say that Python knowledge will help a lot in writing the Ansible side. That I like personally felt that. That's why I'm telling you. I'm not promoting Python or
okay.
Ansible over here, but I would like to say that the person need to start with the Python, then you can go to some easier tools as well. Please don't look for anything completely so easier, in the sense you will be end up in doing something. That is what my intention is. Not, I'm not promoting this demo for hey, work on Python only, like that. Not that way. But Python is like a programming language which can be spreading across many fields as well. We are today you are working in network management. Tomorrow you will be working on software development or something like that, or you will be doing some projects which are going on artificial intelligence and machine learning or something. There you require a Python core. Python is very much required for that. Without that you will not be able to do that. I'm not trying to narrow down my like knowledge towards a certain tool. I will be getting trained, I will be running with my life only with the Ansible itself. No, Ansible also been getting removed nowadays. They are going for a different tools now. So that's why I'm just telling. This is like a normal introduction, like the scenario, like I'm just
other thing was like many people like everywhere it is saying that learn Python and go for SDN nowadays. But the thing is that people that is for larger environments, or what about if there is a the client is not a big customer, like what do you say, like Amazon, AWS, or if he is not like if you even take you the ISPs, so are they going to adapt that thing, or they are still going to go in the traditional way?
So, see, again, I would like to tell you from my company's point of view. Also, I'll just say that, because what I know perfect is what my company is doing. What are the people who are doing in the market? Maybe very rarely I know, but my company is like we've been giving the solutions towards the Python and Ansible and other orchestration tools as well. Kubernetes has also been running so heavily, but it is the customer need to adapt the things, so that customer, in the sense like which I'm talking about, the heavy huge customers like Procter and Gamble, Johnson and Johnson,
Yeah.
like and Colgate Palmolive and Egon Internationals And this recently one of the hotel chain which we got some, like there is a hotel is the US hotel chain which we got that they have near about 7,000 hotels in the US. So for them, they are going for some kind of an automation things, which are actually it is being started from the scratch only. They are looking for every other information from us so that they will be going for it. It is not like the project which has been already there and they try to adopt something on an automation tool or something. So like these are all like many type of projects which are coming up. Accordingly, we just need to give us solutions to them. Like we will not be able to forcing the people to go for Ansible, and people are not ready for that. They need to be properly given a knowledge for that about that automation tools and other things because
So basically,
hmm.
yeah, so basically it means it is only for those with larger organizations and not for the like small organization which has limited number of devices and can be handled manually. So that doesn't require an automation. Is that so?
That's see again, Swapnil, no? Again, what
Yeah.
I'm saying that we just need to understand our team size and our customer size and our policy which we going for as per the company wise, we can go for that. So you can even adopt the same strategy for 50 routers also, 50 switches if you have. And I say entire network may not be exceeding the 150 devices in the sense also we can deploy that. What is the problem in deploying it? Because this will be the good practice for you to go to if you are because I'm doing it like in a key what is it, we are taking the turnkey projects like that. We've been getting the bigger customers as well as small customers also. What big customers
Okay.
also doing it nowadays, they will be giving certain point of network only to us, maximum certain country, within the certain country, that is a certain city only they will be giving it. For example, I'll just say in Spain there is a Madrid one. Madrid is one of the I guess the headquarters of Spain. There is one small bank is there. That project they given to us. Spain, something like that project, something like that. So that kind of like that doesn't have much branches and all like that. They would like to try it out with that kind of automation things. So then they will be expanding their to go to the bigger organizations or something like that. So it depends on like how our strength is that and how efficiently we are managing the network with automation tools rather than normal CLI, which we go with some all Cisco commands or Juniper commands, and we will be calling the Cisco guys and Juniper guys to our bridge to solve our problems when it is going through the MPLS network or ISP network or something. So this is some kind of a movement which is happening now. Everybody is having a confusion that whether we will be going for it or when we giving the control to this automation people, they will be taking entire control in their hand, which we don't have any control at all like that. So that kind of a mentality is also being started with many companies as well. So earlier, adapting to the cloud solutions itself, they have some very much of thinking. They would not go to cloud and all like that because it goes to cloud in the sense AWS cloud, when it has been installed like that, we will not be able to see our devices as well. We will be able to log in and find out all these things only. So we are not allowed to get into the data centers to see what is happening inside. So these are all things are very much of a security problems which will come up. Like they feel like that whether my data is being secure, whether my devices are being secured, who is actually handling it, what team is doing it. So these are all the questions we just need to answer to the people. So now again, we are going to step ahead after implementing it to the complete network solutions on the data centers, on the cloud providers. Then we are going for an automation again. Then we will be managing with the NetOps. So it is again giving some more worries to the people's mind that things will be going out of their hand. But who is hacking? How do the security reports will come up like? So it is a very challenging what is the tool environment. We just be in a position that we'll be understanding all the tools properly from our side. We just need to try it out with our own network. Then we go for some presentations with the customer and explaining all these things. So it is like equal kind of they also need to be properly trained in the sense but all information has to be open and we'll have to be giving it. So it is not like one company is taking this, other company will not take it. It depends on the top people who will be deciding that what solution they would like to give it for it. I still see some of the projects which we are having it. Still, we are running some Cisco commands and Nexus and other things. Arista switches has been included now in data center networks. We've been doing that. They are not looking for any kind of automation at all. But at the time, what they do, even if you're pressing it, okay, they will ask us to write some scripts for to pull up the status of the routers, means how long they're running, what is the logs which are happening on that, and when it is got down, when it is come up like that. This we've been already doing it.
Yeah, for that we already have some automated tool like Epsilon or
Yeah. Many tools are there. Many third-party tools. It depends on the companies. Actually speaking, when you when you see the internals of the tools, they must be based on Python or they must be based on Ansible or some kind of a tools, DevOps tools. Definitely. So when you asking for certain problems or something, that's what there is a different ways of approaching it. You will go for vendor specified DevOps tools. You'll be buying it and you'll use it. That is easier to do that because training will be very quick, and maybe like one session is enough for them to manage that. But when you're going for complete automation with your own team, people of team involved in that, and writing the scripts for your own devices in the sense, that may take time. I'm not expecting that the people has to come as a programmer to work on a network or something, but this is like a starting point. Someone need to break the ice, right? That's what happening now. So, so
That
in
is
future,
true.
we will not be having any kind of a boxes will be installed in any cloud or something. We will be seeing only the, when you go to the AWS, now you're seeing that gateway we are creating it. That gateway is, it's just a software gateway only. There is no device involved in it. Gateway means it is a router. Then we are writing all the firewalls and all, we are installing it. And firewall policies, we've been installing it. It is not the real firewall. It is like all software firewall only we are doing it. So
Correct.
automation will be the easier one for when you're doing it with the software driven. That's what I'm telling. Now the challenges may come up when we are having the hardware devices which are already running for last 5 years, 6 years, and people doesn't want to get upgraded to that. How do you bring them into the automation side? That is a more challenging task. So it depends on the projects wise, and it depends on the people mentality, like all the top people, how do they want to decide it, whether they would like to go for it. But there is a clear mandate which has been come up from all the top people, like they would like to automate. Why they are going for automation, I will tell you, because resources can be very much reduced very much easy.
That's it. Yeah.
Now currently we are having around 30 people or 40 people to maintain one of the biggest bank in India. We've been maintaining that, but when it is been automated, now we can reduce it to, that is a report which I got it, secretly I can just tell you, that is a report which I got it, like we can have only 9 to 12 people is enough for us. Now currently running with the strength of 40. Now we can reduce it to 9 to 12. 12 people is enough for us. And all the top people can handle it whenever there is a problem. So I can even remove all the people on L1 and L2 also. Definitely I'm telling, troubleshooting is not required at all. L2 also I can remove. L3 plus people only will be deployed, and L1 people will be deployed in very meager. Means like just to see the screens only. That's all. Even that will also get removed after 6 months when it is getting stabilized. So project point of view, when you seeing that the cost reduction is so much, near about 70% of the cost has been reduced because of the automation has come up. So what I'm telling is, instead of losing the jobs by just knowing the Cisco commands, Juniper commands, or any other box commands, better you start learning some Python or Ansible or tools knowledge, so that you will be get deployed again, because we are looking for people who are having some experience on programming experience also. It is not like just running the tools. When you go to the DevOps classes or something, they'll just informing about the tools. That tools knowledge, anyone can have it. You can just watch some YouTube videos and you can become like, I'm a chef guy, I'm an Ansible guy. But really things will come into that narrow, when you narrow down, when you are about to write a script for to manage your own boxes. So that is what I am telling you, like people need to open up their horizons to understand certain programming knowledge is required for us to be getting the job done, as well as to survive in the market for us also. So that is my idea about making this, like demo for you. Okay.
Yeah, that is true. This is just a concern that because suddenly if like this COVID-19 comes and nobody is aware of it, this is kind of some situation that something programming automation and people are just unaware about it. And a command running guy is suddenly has to run some script and automate the things.
Yeah.
So that is what the concern is. So this is how we should, like Python, if we type something like, if in F5 iRule, when we type, we give an event and then we give a condition and then we give an action. So as soon as we type something, then it gives us suggestions that yes, these are the options. We are going HTTP request or HTTP post. So is this the case with the Python, that if we type something and it will give a suggestion? Yes, this is what you have to type.
No. In Python, like that, we just need to have the commands with us.
Okay.
We just need to have it like, but some other tools which
so you have to mug up the commands, right?
Yeah. Some other things are which are, but that is a PyCharm is there. One is a GUI tool like that. That is being developed by some other company, but that is an automation tool like that. So Python scripts can be written on PyCharm with some predictions will be coming.
Okay.
So you can get
Is
that,
it a tool?
and yeah, that is possible, because so immediately you cannot start everything with so fresh. So you need to have some suggestion to be given for you, but you should know that what is the script is going to perform. Accordingly, we need to pull the commands in that, right? So the structure, you just need to know what program we are going to write it, which router it is going to talk to, what is the OS which has been running on that. So these are all informations we should know. Then we can go ahead with the writing the scripts for that. Okay. And this Python, currently we are having a 3.8.3. It's depend on that version also, like we are writing the scripts. People will not be going for like, directly into the higher version of that. Even people are running with the 2 point something also. Python which is running with the 2.7, and there is a compatibility issues will also come between the versions. Some of the latest commands will not work with the older Pythons. So that we need to see that. But currently the application, the Python which is available is a 3.8 dot something, which can be installed in Windows, definitely. No problems at all. People who are coming from the Windows background, they can install in Windows. And Linux and Unix has been already there. Mac OS we can definitely install. And a Docker image is also available. You can install it in a Docker, you can run it out in any cloud as well. It's possible. Then the next is, these are all the active Python releases. Again, I just pick it up from the Python site only. There is nothing I made new, because every information is available from the Python site only. Don't go to the any other, like people who are writing their own scripts and all like that, because it is maybe written depend on their own ideas. Better you see the doc which is available on Python. That will be giving you the clear-cut idea that which command has to be run on that. So these are all active Python releases. According to our own requirement, we can download this, and it is completely an open source. We can download and we can utilize it. No need to pay money to anyone. And use the Python for web development, GUI development, scientific and numeric developments, software development, system administrations. So use Python for Django, Pyramid, Bottle, Torindo, Toriado, so many things, Flask, WebCB, so many things are there. We can do the, you can see system administration, Ansible is there, Salt is there, OpenStack is there. Ansible is also using inside the Python only. So I'm telling that Ansible is like a more of, what do you say? It's a user friendly, I can say, because it's easy to write than in Python, because people doesn't like anything to go for very harder things. They would like to start something so easy biscuits. They take and eat like, but they are not interested in making a biscuit or something. Then the next one is Python is powerful, fast, plays well with others, runs everywhere, and friendly, easy to learn, open. Yeah, definitely it is open standard. There is nobody is owning this one. The person who invented that, he is given it to open. So it is easy to learn. They are saying it is easy to learn. And the history of software. Python was created early in 90s by Guido somebody, Stitching Mathematisch and Centrum somebody guy. So in the Netherlands, as a successor of language called ABC, Guido remains Python's principal author, although it includes many contributors from the others. You can even contribute towards the Python. It's possible. If you'd like to add kind of a small package to the Python, it's possible. But that will be run and successfully by this person, and he will approve it to make it to the Python itself. That has always been there. The next 1995, Guido continued his work on Python at the Corporation of National Research Initiative in Reston, Virginia, where been released several versions of the software. So latest one which we are having, it is a 3.8.3. Introduction. Python is clear and powerful object-oriented programming language, comparable to Perl, Ruby, Scheme, and Java. Like that, it's a clear and powerful object-oriented. Oops, they're saying normally, but I would like to see that it's like a more of an interpreter only. And next, uses an elegant syntax, making the programs you write easier to read. Is exactly easily extended by adding new modules implemented in compiled languages such as C and C++. You can include the modules from C and the other languages as well. Runs everywhere, anywhere, including Mac OS, Windows, Linux, and Unix, with unofficial build also available for Android and iOS. iOS is an Apple platform, that also we can have it. In free software in two senses. It doesn't cost anything to download or use Python or to include it in your application. Whatever you want, you can do that. That's how all the people who are generating their own softwares by naming them as a different, very catchable name of this. By underlining, they'll be using the Python only. Python can also be freely modified and redistributed because while the language is copyrighted, it's available under open source license. It's like exactly like the license, exactly like the Linux, sorry. You can take the Linux, basic core of the Linux, you can customize it and you can sell it on your name. It's not a problem at all. No, there is no copyright infringement will happen. So Python is a free open source. You can download and you can learn and you can customize and you can sell. That is what all the third-party NetOps tools are sold as with the Python behind. Python basics. We need to have proper basics to understand Python scripts and all. So there are many basic things which we need to understand. There is the variables, basic operators, numbers and calculations, strings, list, tuples, dictionary, IO files, date time, if statement, while loop, for loop. So like basically, we just need to have some programming knowledge. If a person comes from a Linux background, he will be definitely doing some kind of shell scripting and all. Without a shell scripting, the person cannot be a system administrator in Linux platform. So I would like to say that if you come with a kind of a script knowledge, it's easy for him to learn the Python. He is just extending his knowledge towards the Python. So the next is the command line. From the command line, where I'm using it from the, I would like to show it from the Windows side. So there is three ways we can configure. One is through command line. Next is idle. The third one is PyCharm. Command line is a Python. When you type Python, it will be giving us like Python 3.8.0 and other things. Windows side do something it is taking. Print, I can just say hello world. Print world like that. And idle is an integrated development and learning environment. For learning, you can use this environment. It has been included when you are downloading the Python package. So you can use this in the learning environment also. The next one is PyCharm. PyCharm is a freely available community edition only, but there is a professional edition is available. There you will be getting so much help as well as the predictive tests and everything is possible. It can include some certain scripts also for you. But we can download the community edition, that is a CE, it's called as PyCharm CE, which is fully operational. There is no money you need to pay to them. But you can take the same professional version also, which is you just need to pay something to the PyCharm. So this is one of the way that which we can do. There will be having the three screens. The left hand side you can choose the file. The right hand side you can start writing the script. And once you are running it, you will be seeing the output in the down. There is a three ways you can just see this. This is a file choosing. This you will be editing this file, Python files, and you will be seeing the results over here. When you are running it from here, you will be seeing the results. So the next is Python package installer. We need to install a certain packages to manage a certain boxes. Means Cisco has got its own, Juniper has got its own, FI has got its own. Like every other box has got its own modules to get installed inside the Python, so that every other box can be managed from the Python itself. So that is called as a PIP. That is a package installer. PIP, we can list it out by seeing that what are the packages which are installed in our own environment. We need to create an environment, then we can install the scripts. This is what activating virtual environment. We can have multiple virtual environment also. Means if you like to have certain commands may not be running on certain places like, so we can have a different virtual environment for that. Means if you like to club it to everything, maybe like you will be facing a problems in running all the commands. So better we will be having some different virtual environment for different level of networks which we monitor. So that can have multiple virtual element installed in Python. Self-contained directory tree that contains a Python installation for a particular version of Python plus number of additional packages. Even we can have multiple version of Python installed in our own machine. Version 2.7, version 2.9, version 3.0. Every version can have its own virtual environments itself. So to avoid the complexity as well as the compatibility issues, we can use some different virtual environments as well. We just need to activate before doing the commands as well as the script running. And there is a check. We can check our Python codes and programs here with the Python checker. There is a pythonchecker.com is there. Once you return your Python code, just copy paste it to this site, and you can click verify or validate. Then it will be giving you that where are the problems you are facing it. Then you can go and edit the things accordingly. Then once it is becoming successful, you can run that code in with your devices. Then Python documents online. This link will give you the complete documents on your requirements of this. And the PYPI, that is a Python package index, where you will be getting all the software. Repository of the softwares can be installed. And this is my contact information. You can just see that. You can read this. When you would like to have certain kind of training on NetOps, something like that, you can talk to me. I've been doing some Ansible as well as Python also. and we started using the Kubernetes for some other container solutions as well. So we've been moving towards these solutions for quite long. So I will be the better chance for if you're looking for some kind of a trainings on this. So the next one, I would like to show you some kind of a demo. If people are there already.
Yeah.
Okay, I have some GNS3 which is installed. Let me do that. I'll do some sharing. Let me new share. I'll just do. Where is that? Yeah, Python demo. Let me have it. Give me a screen. Okay. Okay. This is the demo which let me share it. You can just see that. This is like 3 boxes which I have installed in GNS3. I guess you can see my screen.
Yes, yes.
Okay, this is the GNS3, normal GNS3, which is the version. Let me show you the version. What is that? It's a 227 which I installed. Maybe I guess it is the latest one. Better you take the versions after 2. Don't run it anything below 2. It will be a problem. So GNS3 version 2 and after we can work on. So one is a Cisco router, normal Cisco router which educate is a 7200 box. Then another one is a Arista VOS. That is the version which I am using is a 4.18. Arista we've been using for very quite long on the data center networks, and many of the customers are okay with the Arista rather than what is a Cisco Nexus. It is the exact replica of Cisco Nexus. What is the difference is the price difference. Okay, I don't want to get into that. The next one is a Juniper. This is a Juniper box. So this all 3 I have running it in the VMware. It's in a GNS3 VM. It is running on that. So let me start one by one so that I will be able to run the script and I can show you. Before that, I would like to show you the script which I am running on this. Can you see my notepad? Is it possible?
No.
You're not seeing that. 1 second. Let me share the notepad also.
What is on the left side of the switch? Junos software.
Left
Juniper.
Side?
Left side.
That is Juniper.
That's Juniper device.
Juniper it is.
Okay.
So now you can see my this one, no? Notepad.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a black screen.
It's a black screen means you can see the text which is there, right?
Yes.
Okay. This is the script which I given it for telnet, just to make a telnet towards the device. I'm not going to do configurations anything on the Cisco device. I would like to telnet it, and I will be running these commands. Show IP interface brief. Then I will be exiting. Very simple, because I would like to start something with very simple. So this script will telnet it to this device 10.2.25. That is a Cisco router IP. For that, I require a telnet library need to be installed in Python, and it is going to telnet to the host. The host is already defined. So once the telnet has been established, then I will be giving the password as a Cisco as a username, Cisco as a password. Term length I will be running on. Term length will be like it will be giving the full screen for me. When I'm saying show running, it will be showing a half screen on that. I just need to press more on this. So instead of that, I will be, if I give the term length 0 in the sense, it will be running in a one zip full page. I will be able to see that. Then what is the output which I'm going to see in the sense? It is a show IP interface brief. It's a small one command which you are going to see how many interfaces configured, what are all up and running. And when it is finished, it will be coming out like an exit. Then I would like to read all in the sense, print it in the screen itself. That is what the thing. It will be logging in through the telnet, providing the username and password of Cisco. It will run the term length, then it will run the command show IP interface brief, then it will exit, then it will be printing it. So this is the actual script which will be running on this host. And for this, I just need to have these 3 modules installed in Python. That is getPass. GetPass prompts for a user for a password without echoing. Means without echo means it doesn't say that what is the password. Password has been typed on the screen. People will not be able to see that. Sys, the system specific parameters and functions. This sys will be controlling all the commands whichever I am running on that. Cisco platform will be having specific commands that all commands will be coming under the sys. Then the last is a telnet lib. Telnet library is required for me to run the telnet command from the Python script so that it will be logging into the Cisco router. I'm sorry, Cisco router. So let me let me start the Cisco router now only. Guess I can see my screen.
Yes.
Yeah, you're seeing that. Okay. Screen shared. So the now Cisco has been starting. Let me get into the console. My console is starting now. Yeah, it's came up. It's booting now. Taking some time. Yeah, okay. Show version I just give you. Can you see my Cisco router screen?
Yeah.
Okay. This is a 7200 box, very old, which is the version is 15.2.4 M7. I'm running on this. Then I just configured it like show IP interface brief. I'll run from here. So this is the configuration I given, just only 10.2.25. That is a fast Ethernet interface I configured. This interface will be connecting to the cloud. Cloud means I will be able to log in from through the Windows box. I will be able to log into this. For that, I need to create a cloud interface. That cloud interface is running with the VMnet 2. So here I am going to run it on this. So the script will be running here from the command prompt. Command prompt in the sense I have my own scripts over here. Let me share this screen also. Yeah, I guess you can see this. So this is the Python demo in the directory Python demo on P38. I installed I already activated this environment as well. See that you can see that activation has been done. Under the script, there is an activate script is there. Virtual environment activation which I done this, and I have this 4 scripts which are there. First one I am going to run it like a telnet basic. This telnet basic is the one which I explained you now 10.2.25. That is my router IP. 10.2.25. I'm going to log into this 10.2.25 using this script, and I will be running this command, and I will be getting the output on my screen like. So let me go back here. Then I'll be writing this command like a 01. So now I can run this command. This command will go and log into the router, and it will fetch the details what the script is saying.
This command prompt is your cloud, right?
No, it is not in cloud. It is in my own PC, Windows 10.
Okay, Windows 10. And
yeah, in the Windows 10, I have the Python installed in my Windows 10 PC, and I created an environment also for myself, virtual environment. There I'm running all the scripts.
Okay.
So now this is the script which has been done on that. You may be having something like you have a problem in reading this script. I'll take it to the notepad and I'll paste it. One second, let me do the word wrap. So now you are seeing clearly. Is it clear?
Yeah.
You can see that user access verification, username is Cisco, password is Cisco. Correct? And it is running the command show IP interface brief, and it is giving all the outputs. Why this is coming so not aligned in the sense we just need to have one more module called there is another modules are there with when we are running. This is a very basic telnet, so that's why the screen is not so clear. It has been like a junk. It has been shown here. You just say it's like a junk. It is showing that. So we have some Napalm and Paramiko. These are all the modules when it is getting installed. Then we will be able to see that script when it is running perfectly. So this is the one other script which I run. That is what is that? So this is the script which has been run, and this is the output which I got. So what was the script was running? It is running with the, like providing the password as Cisco and username and password like that, and it is log into that device, and it is running the command show IP interface.
All right. Okay.
And I got the output on this. So the next command which I can show that it's like I'll be starting this Arista. For to run the Arista, I will be running this the second one.
Sorry, your voice is not clear.
Hello?
Your voice is not clear.
Hello, now it's clear. Hello.
Yeah, there was some latency. Yeah, and also your screen share is giving some latency.
Yeah, definitely. Because there is a lot of disturbances coming. Definitely, I'll be going slow. No worries. So this is like, there is a second one which I'm going to do. Napalm Arista simple config. Let me start the Arista wax. Start, and I'll have the console also. So now it is coming. Arista will take its own time. We may have to be patient in Arista booting. So many installations are happening on Arista also. Nowadays, they are very much competition to the Cisco boxes in data center activities. Data center solutions. It's a layer 3 switch, which can be, we can involve any modules on this one, and it can do the VXLAN, and we can integrate with the BGP and other things. So everything, almost everything is possible what Nexus is doing, Cisco Nexus. So until let it boot, so until that I will be showing that what is the script is about. So yeah, this is the Arista box. So I'm importing the JSON. JSON means when I am getting the output, it will be given on JSON format. JSON means JavaScript object notification format. Nowadays, JSON scripts are very much written. JSON as well as in YAML scripts are very much written easily. And all the cloud platforms, we've been using the JSON format only. We've been writing all the scripts based on JSON. And the JSON scripts can be written with this Notepad++ program itself. We can do that. And see, let me explain the script. Importing the JSON module, then from Napalm importing getting the network driver. This is required to talk to the EOS. EOS means EOS is the operating system which is running on Arista. So this import network get driver, that will be from the Napalm. Napalm is one of the module need to get installed in virtual environment that will invoke the certain command lists which can be through which we can talk to the Arista boxes as well. So let me explain. Arista boxes IP address is 10.2.26, and for Arista IP in Arista, I'm just writing this like I'm going to write a script on this. Print connecting to the Arista device. Then string, it is Arista IP. Arista IP is what? 10.2.26. Then get network driver. Then device driver Arista IP Cisco and Cisco. Again same. When I'm logging to the 10.2.26, I will be providing the username of Cisco, password of Cisco. Then open the device. Then get the facts. Get the facts in the sense, what are the facts we are going to get? Get facts in the sense like show version, and what is the software version, how many interfaces are there, how many up and running. These are all very much like a healthy things which we are going to see that. Very normal commands, show version command, show IP interface brief command, show environment commands. These are all the things which are coming under the device get facts. Then print it whenever it is coming up. Yes?
Yeah, my question was, these facts and these commands, these are specifically for Arista.
No, not for Arista. Even Juniper box also we do that. Device get facts.
And for Cisco also, this will also support.
Yeah, we can do this. We can do this. This is actually coming under the network device platforms as well. Okay. For that, the Arista need to be made ready with certain scripts on this. That we need to make it ready. There is a specialized some commands are there. That commands need to be run on the Arista boxes so that it can talk to the Python, Ansible, and other things. We need to get it ready. That's why we can get it from the every other software vendors, every other box vendors site. How do we automate it with the Python? How do we automate it with the Ansible? They may not be giving the scripts and all. They will be giving you like how to when there is a script coming towards the box, how does it respond? Like that. For that, we need to run certain commands. I'll show you the commands which are there. So when I'm getting the facts, it will be dumping these facts in the JSON format. True, and indent is for. Indent means like with how many spaces it has to give, so that it will be viewable very easily. Then print device Arista IP software version is facts OS version. This much information I'll be getting it. Once I'm getting all the information and it is getting printed properly, close the device and come out. So this is the command, this is the script which is going to run on Arista box. Let me see whether Arista has been, yeah, it is ready now. I'll log in as like admin. So enable. So like I can just say show version. So this show version is showing that software image version is 4.18 and uptime for 3 minutes, how much memory it has been utilized, and what is the architecture which is running on this. And I can get the command like show interfaces. Get it. Show interfaces brief. Show interfaces can run. So this will be running like this. Show interface. Some other things I can get that. Show interfaces status I can get. So this will be like a show IP interface brief in our Cisco environment. So this Arista has been configured with the proper things which is required for us. So these are all required. Management API HTTP commands, protocol HTTP no shutdown. Management telnet no shutdown. Telnet I can do the telnet with this, and I have already enabled the Cisco and the privileged passwords and all these things, and I have configured the IP address for the Ethernet interface. Through this IP only I will be logging into the device. See this 10.2.26. Same IP is here, so that I can, when I'm running the Python script, it will be logging into this router, and it will bring the commands whichever I'm requiring for this. So for that, what is required? The Arista need to be made ready with username and passwords. Then these commands: management telnet no shutdown and management HTTP commands. These are all very much required. This I took it from the Arista site, so I configured it, made it ready. Now I will go and run this script from my Python. So the number is 38. That is the number which I given. You can just press the tab key, which will give you all the autocomplete. Then I'm running this command. Let me see whether it is bringing up any output for me. It may take some time. Yeah, connecting to Arista device. See that. Connecting to Arista device 10.2.26, and it is running this FQDN value, host name, interface list. It is printed. And model is VEOS, means virtual platform which I'm running on this, because I'm running it on virtual machine. So OS version is a 4.18. Serial number is not there. Uptime is like this much time. Vendor is Arista. So device 10.2.26, software version is this. This line, why it is coming? Because in our script it has been written device Arista IP, software version is OS version. That's why we are getting this line, last line. Anyway, we got this information here. We are logging into this one. Then we are running this command to get this, and we are seeing this outputs on this. Then we are seeing. So this is about the Arista. And the third one, which I can go for, it's like a Juniper device. What is a Juniper device? Let me see. Juniper basic facts, which I can see that 62 is my Juniper facts. Let me start the Juniper box from here. I'll do one thing. I will shut down this because my PC may not respond properly. I'll start this guy. My Juniper is starting. Guess you can see the VMware page. See? So now it is getting ready. Juniper box is getting ready. It may take some time. So until then, I can explain you the script. It is getting stopped. I don't know. So everything is getting stopped. Okay, let me run this. No issues. I should be creating a different project for that Juniper only, but it may take time. Let me show this one. So until then, I will be explaining these facts. So this is a Juniper script which I am going to run it. That is Juniper Junos import device. Then pp print import pp print. Like these two things has to be written for the Juniper devices. Then Juniper host is 10.2.27. That is the IP which is configured in the Juniper. And I have to write this script to bring about all these informations. So device IP, device host is IP. Then I can just say the root is a username and password is Cisco123. Open the device and get the facts. That is nothing but the device facts. So I need to run this command to get this information. Then after getting that version information, I'll be closing this. Yes, you are clear about this one. Let me see whether it has been started now. It is still booting. It will come back online so that I can able to run this script. It takes its own time. CPU is 100%.
One more thing, Ramnath. In case, like in bigger ISPs, suppose they are huge routing tables.
Okay.
And if you are in some routing protocols like OSPF, then does it have any special script given by, suppose it's a Cisco, then does it have a special script given by Cisco or Arista?
Yeah, I would like to tell you this
have...
about this, because when you are using the open standard protocols, OSPF is open standard, BGP is open standard. So for these open standard protocols, the commands will be like more or less same in the script also. You don't face any problems at all. But in Juniper, like we will be we have to talk to the, means like we just need to refer the docs. How do we automate that one? Configuration of the OSPF boxes, configuration of the BGP, configuration parameters. Those are all some commands which are available. Like, because when we are installing that Python installer there, no, that PIP, which is the module, that module will bring up all the necessary things which need to be run in the box. So with that we will be, but we just need to dig a lot. We just need to dig a lot, so that then only we will be getting all the informations about that one, because it is a new one for us, new programming language for us. So I'm just showing you because it's a demo. So I'm showing you very little bit of things on this. So now, yeah. Yes.
No, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, okay. So now I guess the box has been booted up now. It's ready. Now it is looking for the login here. I can log in as a root and I can check it out. But let me run this project. Let me see that whether it is running. 62 is my thing. Let me get this Juniper basic facts. Should be running. Yeah, now I got the output. So you can see in my screen that when I'm running this Juniper basic facts, it is logging into the root and something like all the information you can see. Domain name has been given as a python.cisco, which I configured. FQDN is a Junos python.cisco, because we are getting the Cisco facts only, means the facts of Juniper box. Host name is Junos, which I given it. And what are the other informations? It is, the model is Olive, and other things may not be required for us. Version we are taking it 12.1R19. That is the OS which is running on Juniper box. and that much information we got. It's a very basic information which I try to get it. What is the box is running? What is the OS is running in that? What platform it is? And what version is running on the iOS, Junos 11, something like that. So I get all the information on it. So this script is only providing only this much information. It will be logging with the username root, and it will provide the password as Cisco123. Then it will open the device and it will get the facts. Then it will print the facts. That's what it is done. It's a very simple program. But I have many programs which are in my, I have written for so many things for every other device as well. For all these three, because we've been using Cisco, Arista has been newly introduced, and Juniper boxes we have been using for long. So we are in a position to automate all these things. So we should be equipped with all the scripts available. So I made it like with, these are all custom made only. There is nothing like every time we just need to go see whether this command will work, this module is required for this. And but I can download all the information to you, whichever I gather. If you are coming for a training or something, I can just give you. But self study is very much required to understand the Python. Python need to be started with the basic, basic understanding of the Python, which I given you that basic things on the Python, directories and tuples and the lists and the programming skills and other things, which is a basic Python, which is very much required. All the commands and all, how do we are going to run it, how to activate that environment, how to log into that environment, running the commands, how to write the script for that. What all the basic things are required for it to make it as a proper syntax or something. So these are all like a basic training will be given, but I could not go very much in deeper into the Python because we are into the network automation side. So we are not actually doing any kind of a programming, like we are creating a software for that box or something, but we are trying to measure, I would like to say, near about 80% of the work which we are doing it like just collecting the reports from the boxes. Reports in the sense like get facts, get the interface status, get the routing tables, and get the logs from the device, and get the SNMP parameters on this, like that. So those are all fetching that information from the devices only. The configurations are not yet been approved by the team, so that we can go ahead and start configuring all these things. So configuration will be the challenging when it has come to the automation environment. But little bit of changes which definitely we can do, means like description changes, our interface up and down, IP configurations of the interfaces, like that, which we can do that. Our common parameters like SNMP parameters we can configure, syslog and NTP server configurations on the devices. So they will be, if a company is a customer in the sense, a customer will be using 1 or 2 NTP server or something. So with that we can configure differently. So these are all like a normal template.
Hello.
So these are like a normal templates which we are running currently with that. So that is some of the introduction which I given you are like how to get the facts from 3 different boxes. One is on Cisco, one is on Arista, and one is on Juniper. Some other boxes also available. Whenever there is a new box included, we need to get into the document pages of their vendors. Then we'll have to get all the informations on this. So that is our responsibility to get that, definitely. So I'm most welcome for the people to contact me for any kind of a trainings on this, and this is my contact information which I can show you. Let me show the last thing, and I can show it to the people that it can be given on this. I can forward this to the people, and I will be sharing this in the groups as well. The video as well as the audio things and other things, the PPT and other things. I'll upload it to the Google Drive and I will share it out with the people. So you can download it and you can watch it out and you can forward it to your friends also. But now what I'm saying is, like, just depending on third-party tools or third-party kind of a CLI something doesn't going to work out in the next couple of years. We need to learn our own skills, like we need to upgrade our skills to the some kind of a network automation skills, network kind of tools and other things. Scripting skills need to be upgraded. So this is the right time to go for people to go for like this kind of a trainings, so that they can get trained and they can be very much independent within the organization itself, so that they can write some scripts without any help from the people on the development. Nowadays we are getting the help from the development people, but they are not really helping us because they don't know what is network and we don't know what is a scripting and all. So we started learning the scripting, so it is easy for us to go for like automating that. So thanks for joining for this meeting. So I will be closing this meeting now because it is already 2 hours, 1.5 hours is coming up. So let me come up and I will stop sharing it. So thanks for joining Gautam and this Swapnil. Please, I'll share it out with this information in the group, or you can share your information here, your email address or something, so that I can send you this direct link. You can download that and you can give it in the chat. I can get that. Gautam and Swapnil.
Yeah, you have it. Yeah, you have it.
Yeah,
I
already
guess.
have it. Gautam, what about Gautam? Gautam is actually he's okay. Anyway, I'll share it out in all the groups wherever I put this demo things on this. So no worries. So let me close down this one. Thanks for joining Swapnil and Gautam. Okay, bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.